وبركاته. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسوله الكريم. أما بعد. My dear brothers and sisters, we continue with our discussion of the final hours leading up to the Day of Judgment. The Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he makes mention, as narrated by Anas bin Malik radiallahu anhu, in the Sunan of Imam Abu Dawud rahimahullah. He says that the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, لا تقوم الساعة حتى يتباهى الناس في المساجد. The final hour shall not be established until the people start to boast about the mosques of Allah the Almighty, about the house of Allah the Almighty. When people start to have pride and arrogance and start to say, my masjid is better than your masjid. The Prophet ﷺ is saying, the final day will not come until this event. These speeches will be coming out of the mouths of the Muslims. Now, let's understand. The masajid of Allah the Almighty, the houses of Allah, He Himself has attributed to Himself, وَأَنَّ الْمَسَاجِدَ لِلَّهِ فَلَا تَدْعُ مَعَ اللَّهِ أَحَدًا. And He says in Surah Al-Jinn that the masajid, the mosques, they belong to Allah, so do not call anyone other than Him. Now, for someone to come and say, my mosque, my masjid is better than your masjid, what are we doing? Indirectly, perhaps unconsciously, what are we doing? We're saying the house of Allah is low. One of them is better than the other. But Allah has made no distinction, no distinction between the two. Now, the purpose and the aim and the goal of the masjid is to be a place of worship. The word masjid comes literally from the word sujood. Sajada yasjudu means to prostrate. A place a person is able to go and prostrate themselves in front of Allah the Almighty. Now when the house of Allah becomes a commodity of competition, then Allah, the Messenger of Allah is telling us, then wait for the final hour to come. Wait for the final hour to come. Now in the yesteryears, in the previous nations or previous generations, the people will compete in decorating the masjid, in beautifying the masjid. So this is what the fakhr and this is what the mutafakhira were all about. The tafakhur was all about whose masjid looks the best and looks better. And perhaps we've moved away from that now. Now we will be saying, my masjid facilities are better than your masjid facilities. My masjid provides this, what does your masjid provide? This is what we think about. But the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is informing us that when we're doing this is the sign of the final hour. Meaning, we should not be saying this, rather become a part of the solution. If something is lacking in a masjid, become a part of it and try to fix that. Try to make that happen. This is what the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is telling us. We have this habit within our culture now. Somebody passes away, somebody dies, we want to do some sadaqah on their behalf. We know the famous hadith. Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he's told us, as mentioned in Al-Bazzar, in his Musnad, he says that there are 7 deeds. There are 7 deeds that when a person is in their grave, they will continue to reap the rewards from them. From 7 deeds. Number 1, he makes mention. The Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, "Man 'allama 'ilman," the one who taught someone something. People will continue to benefit from that knowledge, and he continues to get the reward. أو أجرى نهرا, the person who digs a river. A person who allows a river to flow, and the people are able to benefit from it, the cattle and the animals are able to benefit from it, then he will continue to receive the reward in the grave. أو حفر بئرا, the one who digs a well. So people are able to take the water from it, they're able to use it for different reasons. أو غرس نخلا, the one who plants a tree, and this fruit bearing on the tree, people will eat from it, people will benefit from it. أو بنى مسجدا, and the one who builds a masjid, who constructs a masjid. And we know the famous hadith, we heard it for the last 10 years or so. The Prophet ﷺ says, whoever builds a masjid for the sake of Allah, then Allah will build a house for him in Jannah. We know the hadith, yes, we understand it. But we also need to be practical about it. Many times, as I was mentioning, people pass away and the family, they want to get together, do something on their behalf. Let's build a masjid. A simple solution. Build a masjid. Let's build it back home. So you go to every village, you will find how many masjid per village. 2, 3, 4 masjid per village. You're standing in one masjid, you can see the other masjid. You go to the other one, you can see the other one. And then you walk into the masjid, salat time comes. I remember walking into for salat al-asr in the masjid. Imam says, Allahu Akbar, there's only about 5 people behind him. 5 people behind him. All the masjids are left empty. But when you speak to each people, what are they saying? My masjid is the best. My masjid has this and my masjid has that. And they're all left empty. It defeats the purpose. What Allah is saying is better what you have. What the Prophet ﷺ is saying, improve on what you have, not build more. We don't need more. We need to capitalize on what we have. Introduce classes in there. Introduce different services in there. This is what the Prophet ﷺ is saying. Not to go boasting, my one's better and my one's better and this one's bad and this one's good and this and that. This is not what Allah wants from us. This is not what the Prophet ﷺ is saying. You know, when we go and say this, I've heard this Ramadan a lot. This masjid is serving better food, and that masjid is serving better food, and the food here is not nice, and the food there is not nice. And this comes, subhanAllah, when did the masjid become a restaurant? When did the masjid become a restaurant? SubhanAllah. There's people out there in the world got nothing on their plates, and we're thinking about who's doing it better. Let's go to that masjid, that food is better. The primary purpose of a masjid is to serve the community, to allow them to perform their 5 daily salahs. Everything else is additional. To say that this masjid is not good because the food is not nice, then my brothers and sisters, we are taking our privilege. We're not appreciating the privilege Allah has given us. We're not appreciating the privilege Allah has given us. If someone can say to me, that if I pray in this masjid, I know for a fact, without any doubt my salah will be accepted, then I will say that masjid is better. I would say that masjid is better. But can anyone make that claim? Of course not. Of course not. If we look at Masjid al-Nabawi, 1400 years ago, 1444 years ago, when it started, what was it? It was almost like a mud hut. You know, when I went for Umrah this time, they had this masjid expansion exhibition. You pay some money, you go in, and they tell you how the masjid transformed. Initially, there's a few palm trees, they put a barricade around it, and they put some sheets of leaves over the top. That's it, nothing else. Nothing else. But what that masjid produced, no other masjid can compare. No other masjid can compare. So if anybody can come and say that because a masjid is small, or because a masjid is not as decorated as others, it does not cost more than other masajid, or because they don't serve nice food in Ramadan for iftar or for suhoor, that the other masjid is better, then I have to say, my brothers and sisters, can you guarantee me that in your good, best masjid, that your salahs will be accepted by Allah, and that has not been rejected? If you can tell me that, then you can say, alhamdulillah, yes, okay, everybody, let's go there. Let's go there, let's not pray here anymore. But if you can't make that claim, and you cannot testify to that, then it is not befitting the characteristics of a Muslim that they should be saying, this mosque is better than the other mosque. This is what the Prophet ﷺ, he is warning against us. He is telling us, when the people يَتَبَاهَ النَّاسِ فِي الْمَسَاجِدِ, when the people start to boast and they start to have arrogance and show off with the masjids that they have erected and built, then wait for the final hour. When the people start to do this, we're saying about back home masajid, they're just sitting there. They're very beautiful. You know, we're not going to lie. Very beautiful. But they're just sitting there, empty. You don't see the children there. You don't see the young adults there. Perhaps a few of the murabbis, they will go there, they'll pray, sit there for a bit and leave. That's it. If that. And there's so many in abundance. But what is more needed, and what our teacher said, what is more needed than building more masajid is filling the bellies of the hungry Muslims. Filling the bellies of the hungry Muslims. The Prophet ﷺ, he tells us that there are certain rights other Muslims have over us. And one of them is وَأَطْعِمُ الطَّعَامِ, and you feed the hungry. You feed the hungry. He did not say that one of the rights of another Muslim is you build a mosque for him. I'm not saying it's not a good deed. If somebody's if an area, location, a city, a town is in need of it, yes, go ahead. By all means, make the masajid. But when there is dozens already available, then let's focus on somewhere else. Or let's improve what we already have. Employ a good imam. So, sponsor an imam who can then teach the people. Employ teachers who can teach the children, the community. This is what we need of. This is what we need of. So I leave you with this, my brothers and sisters. The Prophet sallallahu, Allah the Almighty says in Surah At-Tawbah, إِنَّمَا يَعْمُرُ مَسَاجِدَ اللَّهِ مَنْ آمَنَ بِاللَّهِ وَالْيَوْمِ الْآخِرِ وَأَقَامَ الصَّلَاةَ وَآتَى الزَّكَاةَ وَلَمْ يَخْشَ إِلَّا اللَّهِ. That only those individuals are considered to be the true inhabitants of the masjids, of the mosques, the true inhabitants. مَنْ آمَنَ بِاللَّهِ, those who believe in Allah. وَالْيَوْمِ الْآخِرِ, the final day they believe in it. وَأَقَامَ الصَّلَاةَ, who establish the prayer. وَآتَى الزَّكَاةَ, they give the zakah. وَلَمْ يَخْشَ إِلَّا اللَّهِ, and they have no fear for anyone other than Allah the Almighty. They are the true inhabitants of the masajid of Allah the Almighty. These are the ones that will come and they will do their worship. They're not there to show off or boast about it, because they know الْيَوْمِ الْآخِرِ, I've got a destination I'm going to reach. Me boasting about my masjid does not improve my salah, then this is worthless, it's pointless. If I cannot guarantee my salah has been accepted, then this is pointless me boasting about my masjid. فَعَسَى أُولَٰئِكَ أَن يَكُونَ مِنَ الْمُهْتَدِينَ, and Allah concludes the verse by saying, perhaps these are from the guided people. So my brothers and sisters, it's been a relationship with the masjid. And this, take all the masajid in the world to be sacred as they are. Allah, they will belong to Allah. They are the house of Allah. To put one down is to say that house of Allah is not good enough. To say the house of Allah is not good enough is a bold claim to make, and is that something that we're so happy to claim on the Day of Judgment? No, we're not. No, we're not. We want Allah to look after our homes, we look after the homes of Allah the Almighty, and everything else will fall in place. We make Allah the Almighty, He makes us from Ahlul Masajid. He makes us from the people who inhabit the masjid. And we make dua that Allah makes us from amongst those. رَجُلٌ قَلْبُهُ مُعَلَّقٌ بِالْمَسْجِدِ, that individual whose heart is attached to the masjid. And if our heart is attached to the masjid, then سَبَعَةٌ يُظِلُّهُمُ اللَّهُ فِي ظِلِّهِ يَوْمَ لَا ظِلَّ إِلَّا ظِلُّهُ. 7 individuals, 7 categories of people will receive the shade on the Day of Judgment. And it's that one individual whose heart is attached to the masjid. My brothers and sisters, inhabit the masjid as much as possible before we don't have access to it, or Allah restricts our access to it. سبحان الله وبحمده سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك.